I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast episode number 162. This one's with Chris Fason, and on this episode we talk about his latest project that is currently up on Kickstarter called What I Did Yesterday. Talk about that, we talk about art, we talk about a little bit of everything. I appreciate Chris for coming back on. He was on with Dan Taylor a while back to talk about their project back then, Star Marshals. But I appreciate him for coming on this time to talk a little bit more in depth and a little bit about what prompted him to do this new project, What I Did Yesterday. It gets a little heavy, and I appreciate him for opening up like that. If you'd like to follow him on social, you can find him on Instagram or Facebook at Fason Art, Fason Art. But more importantly, go on to Kickstarter and back his project, What I Did Yesterday. Now, you can just search What I Did Yesterday. There's a link in the descriptor of this, or you go to kickstarter.com/project/Chris Fason, CHRISFASON, /what-I-did-yesterday. But like I said, just go in there and search for it and you'll find it. It's a great project. It's well worth your shekels. But let's get out and support Chris on this project. It's really cool, and I think there's just a few weeks left on it, so let's get on this as soon as you possibly can. And thank you to Chris for coming on. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Though they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. Where are you originally from?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay. Oh, God. Here we go. I remember now the trash talking. Oh, God. Okay.
That's right.
All right. Damn it, I'm wearing red. I should be wearing orange. Why am I not wearing orange? Jeez. Okay, Birmingham, Alabama. Are you born and raised, stayed there?
Yeah, I mean, I live down in Shelby now, which is about an hour south of
Okay.
Birmingham, because that's where my dad lives. Yeah, I've thought about getting out, and I applied out of state for like animation jobs before I started having kids.
Yeah.
And I was willing to move wherever, but I just kind of stuck here.
Yeah.
It wasn't until 2008 when I was actually working in sort of the industry that I wanted to, as far as like paying work, being a graphic designer, even though I've been drawing for years before that. So by 2008, I was pretty well settled.
Yeah. I'm born and raised in Knoxville, so I no, no, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, so Birmingham, is that where the Trash Pandas are at?
They're in Huntsville. Huntsville's
They're
the Trash
Huntsville.
Panda.
Okay. One of these days
Birmingham's,
Oh, the Barons. That's right.
right.
Because my other hatred is for Michael Jordan, and I remember that's where he played baseball.
Actually, I really good to see him. He came into the place I was working when he was playing with the Barons. Uh, I was working at a place called Jam and Jam where a lot of kids came and played, giant play set kind of
Mm.
thing, snack bar. And he came in with his family, and I thought, oh shit, that's usually we get
That's
hockey players from the Bulls, but it's like, that was the first big guy we saw.
that's awesome. He got his first hit off of my home team. They were the KJs then. Now they're the Smokies.
Yeah,
I'll never forgive whoever that pitcher was because Michael Jordan. No,
yeah.
no, no,
I
no.
never really followed baseball as much. I liked hockey for a long time, and I haven't watched a lot of it lately. But college football, my dad. So
Yeah.
that's
I,
I got.
I assume Crimson Tide fans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a, SEC,
Okay.
somebody from down here has got to get, do
Yeah.
well. And, if it's from my state, I'm much more proud of them, of course. Alabama, Auburn, I don't care. I don't have any hatred for any of those schools or any of those players. They're just kids.
Yeah. Yeah. That's they're, oh God, well, it doesn't matter. This is coming out almost immediately. So there's all this kerfuffle now with the NIL stuff, with the
Hmm.
NCAA coming after Tennessee. And I love that Donde Plowman, I can't remember if she's the chancellor or the president, whatever she is. She's like, no, you're not going to do this. You didn't set the rules right. Like, I love that she's fighting back, going, no, this is no, no. It's like, just let the kids get paid. Jeez.
I mean, at this point, why not? I mean, schools are raking in millions of dollars for games, so why shouldn't the kids get a little bit of it? I mean,
Yeah.
that's where they're heading anyway, the best of them.
Yeah. Or make better rules. Like, if you really want to fuss about it, make better rules.
Oh, my video went away. I don't know what I did.
Oh,
There it goes. Sorry.
there we go. Um, okay. Birmingham. What did your folks do for a living?
My dad was a truck driver, and
Hmm.
my mom worked at a credit union. She was like a branch manager when she retired. So,
Okay. Uh,
so
what
my
kind of
dad,
truck driver was he? Because that's what my dad did.
he tried the over the road for a little bit, but he mostly just stayed in the state.
Mhm.
He was home every night, even though I didn't grow up with him. Uh, I mean, I was probably 6 or 7 when my parents split, and so. But he was home every night. He delivered like building materials and things like that.
Okay.
And
Uh, my dad was a day driver, and he would drive like almost up to like Bristol to like the Tri-Cities from Knoxville. But yeah, same thing, home every night. Although, good Lord, he would get home at like 11 o'clock, 11:30, and I just dog tired and hungry.
I think my dad was probably getting home around 4 or 5 because he was getting up at like 2 and 3 in the morning and getting to work by
God,
4. So
good
he was
Lord.
on those early loads.
Yeah. Oh my God. Uh, so do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have a sister.
You have a sister.
Yes,
So,
she's younger.
uh, were you all into art as kids? Did you like doodling or drawing or?
I was all the time. My favorite stuff, like the earliest stuff I remember that gravitated me towards art was the Sunday newspapers and the daily comic strips because we had 2 papers back with the News and the Post Herald that came out in the afternoon. So I got 2 sets of comic strips every day, and then the Sundays. So I was a big comic strip kid, and then and one of the papers they could had little drawing contests where they just put not really a contest, but they would if you send your art in, you might get in the newspaper. And I think I sent in a bunch of stuff, and I don't know if I ever got in there. I don't remember, but just wanting to draw, like Garfield or Ziggy or whatever it was when I was
Yeah.
real little.
Yeah, I remember my grandmother had the remember, I wonder if you had these too. They were like paper book back book size, but they collected like the comic strips.
Yeah, I had a one really big one, a high and lowest that probably had like 200 pages in it, and that was like one of my favorites as a kid. And the smaller ones were like Beetle Bailey or Peanuts.
Yeah. Yeah, Peanuts and the Family Circle. The one that
Family,
one out of every four was funny.
if that.
I was being kind. I was being kind. It's a new year. I'm trying to be kind.
Very generous of you.
So okay, so
Nothing
you're
against Keen or his family,
yeah,
but my
seriously.
cup of tea.
Uh
I like
so
the illustrations though.
yeah, very clean.
Menace.
So did your parents like encourage you to keep doing art? Did they understand it?
Yeah, probably more my grandmother more than anyone, and she actually recently passed last
Mhm.
year. Uh, when I was growing up, my mom and me and my sister moved in with my grandparents when I was about 8, and so my grandmother always bring home like this old dot matrix paper from the
Yeah.
computers that
Oh
when
yeah.
and it was like little bitty tiny strips, like maybe 3 inches by 6 inches, perforated, but a million of them all
Mhm.
stuck together. And I would draw stuff on that, and I would go shopping with my grandmother. We'd go to like Food Giant, and they had the baskets that were higher up and not as deep. And so I would sit underneath the basket, and she let me pick out a comic book, and I'd read the comic book while she shopped. And if I was good, I put that comic book back and she'd buy me another one that I hadn't read yet. And that was kind of our deal.
Gaming the system.
And it was, I got a lot of Thors that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was funny because, everybody hated on like Garbage Pail Kids, but she thought they were hilarious. And I thought that was, it's like, hey, she gets it.
Pail kit. Wow. Okay. Uh, you mentioned comics, Rich. You kind of touched on comics. Like,
Mhm.
was that your introduction to comics? Did you really get into comic books or cartoons as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the newspaper comics and the comic books, and of course, I watched all the stuff on Saturday mornings, and when I'm a child of the 70s, but I grew up mostly, in the 80s. And so, but we had all those cool 70s cartoons that like the uh, Thundar the Barbarian and the Herculoids and all that cool Hanna-Barbera stuff. And but at the same time, we also had Transformers and Voltron was on too. And so it was a great time to be a kid. And and then as I got older, I didn't go probably into a comic book store until I was 14. Didn't even know that it was a thing, that there was these stores, these magical places I could go in that had boxes and boxes of comics. And I went to Bob's Comics in Trustful, who's still there. Probably
Uh-huh.
only real good comic shop that I'm aware of in the Birmingham area. I mean, I know there's a couple other ones that are pretty cool, but that was like my OG, comic shop. And and there's some other ones that had come and gone that were really awesome shops. Funny Books and Kingdom Comics were two of those, and just going in, hanging out with the people who were there, and talking about the stories we were reading. And I had friends in school. I remember being probably 14, 15 by the time I started going to comic shops, and me and a buddy. We tried to make like a little comic that was kind of basically a ripoff of Guardians of the Galaxy at the time because it was Valentino stuff, and it was just amazing. And we were
Yeah.
trying to do that, and it was horrible. I look back, if I could find any of that artwork, I'd probably just want to burn it. But we had fun and we had aspirations,
Yeah.
and we loved these weird stories we were reading because it was. I mean, comics are there's so many different genres within comics that you can read
Yeah.
anything, you find anything. And that was cool because we all like different stuff. Me and my two buddies we hang out with the most. But we'd sit there and in one of our houses or apartments and we'd swap comics and just sit there and read. I'd read Guardians, he'd read Lobo, and off we'd go.
Yeah, that's so my dad was in the service and they gave them a bunch of comic books when he was overseas and he brought them back and they were late 60s, early 70s, like Stan Lee Spider-Man, John Romita Senior Spider-Man.
I
So that's what I grew up reading, and then yeah, starting to ease into the other stuff. It was nuts. Didn't get
yeah.
to be too much with all the die cut covers and all that crap. Good God.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of exciting at the time because like around what 92 when Image came out, I was 15 turning 16 that year. So it was like, prime age for all that crazy
Yeah.
shit because it's like, oh, look at this cool hollow foil cover. And now, at 47 years old, I don't care about that stuff. What's on the inside. But I mean, that's got its place in comics history and people who still do that stuff, for fun special editions, and the nostalgia of it is all cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting back to the variant covers though, because Keanu Reeves wrote some comic. I was like, oh, I'll pick that up. I bet that'll be fun. And then I looked at it
That
and
was a
there were
pretty good book.
was it? There were like 12 variant covers. I was like, oh
Oh,
God.
I read them online or on,
Oh,
app,
okay.
whatever. And
I'm I'm,
so
I'm too much
I
of a
probably saw,
completist.
yeah.
Uh
No, I've never been a completist. Yeah, there were some runs that I definitely wanted because of the writer artist combos. But as far as like got to have all the X-Men #1 covers. Like I think I had two of them, but I
yeah.
sure didn't have how many there were. Eight, something like that. It was
Oh my
wild.
God. I can't even remember. I remember getting them all, but I remember also having to go to, excuse me, comic book shop didn't have all of them. So I went next door to the food line and got some. Then I went to like the gas station and got some, like just trying to piece together all of them. It
Yeah,
was nuts.
I've seen some conversation online about that in some of these comic groups I'm in about uh, wanting to go back to the whole, being able to get comics at the gas station
Yeah.
and 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 I don't think it's going to happen, but it kind of would be cool. It's just
Yeah.
different scenarios for different times.
They're too expensive now. You can't
Oh,
do
I
that
know.
anymore.
That's why the subscription service for these apps are so much better
Yeah.
than buy. It's like I could buy $150 in comics a month, or I can pay 20 or $30 a month.
Yeah. I've
Right now,
never,
I can't do anything.
oh, I was going to say, I've never been able to get used to reading on an app or something. Even books, I buy hardback books. I can't, I just listened to my first audiobook ever. And it was only because I had a finite time before book club. And it was Elvira's autobiography. I was like, I can
Oh,
listen to her
cool.
talk.
Yeah.
I was like,
I've not really gotten to the audiobooks, but I like a good paper book, in my
yeah,
hands too. Although most of the stuff I've been reading the past several years, I just reading like on the Kindle app on my phone
yeah.
because it's easier to lay in bed and not have to go search for the book on my bookshelf.
Or worry about,
Organization is so much nicer.
or worry about creasing it,
Right.
devalue. Oh my God.
But if I like that book, I'm gonna get a copy and it's gonna go on my bookshelf.
uh, Oh yeah, you ought to see my records are absolutely bonkers right now because it's like, okay, I log these records. I gotta listen to them before I put them on the shelf because they may never get listening to if I put them up on the shelf.
That
Uh,
I would love to have. I loved having cassette tapes. I thought that was just ridiculously awesome. And actually, at one point, I wanted to get my oldest son like, I'm gonna get you a Walkman. I'm gonna find you some Def Leppard tapes. So you're gonna live my childhood. But the ease of just getting on Spotify or something is so much
yeah.
just so easy. And
Well, since I've gotten back into records, and I was actually texting with a buddy earlier, I was like, it's actually making me listen to the albums as opposed to just
yeah,
zoning out a little
back.
bit. Yeah. Um, Do you remember when you were in the early days of collecting comics, do you remember any writers that stood out to you or artists that stood out to you?
Well, I'm a big fan of Frank Miller's Daredevil run. That was one of the things that if I was going to be a completist when I was a teenager, that was the run I was trying to get, and I got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And I liked the continuing further along when you got to like Anno Nocenti and JR Jr. I love that stuff too. Although a lot of people kind of didn't. I don't know. I don't know how well Nocenti's stuff was received on Daredevil. I feel like it was mixed, but I loved it.
Hmm.
I thought it was great. And
I was going to say John Romita
uh
Jr. It took me a while because it feels like in the early days he was so chunky, like the Punisher
yeah,
Zone stuff. But now when I see his, it seems like he just keeps getting better every year he does.
I agree. But I love the chunky stuff. I liked artists that didn't look like every other comic book on the shelf. You know, guys who stood out by being a little bit weird, a little bit different, I thought was always cool. And you're probably going to ask me for names, and I'm just going to forget.
Oh
But
no, I was going to say I'll throw you one name that kind of got started in that time, Chris Bacalo. Chris
yeah,
Bacalo was one that went from being kind of a normal artist to then you got like the Witching Hour and some of those other books. It was like, oh, this dude can rip, man. This dude is amazing.
he throws it. I was actually looking on his Instagram just a little bit earlier today.
Yeah,
I
Chris
was like,
Bacalo.
man, it's so good. I might as well quit. You
Yeah.
know?
I'm trying to think nope, can't pull it. Can't pull it. There's an artist that I love that I can't pull his name right now that it's almost like if you had to show a comic book artist, it's this
Mhm.
guy. And God, I can't pull his name. It was one of God. Okay, no, I'm gonna have to look this up. This is gonna drive me nuts.
While you're doing
Marvel
no, the
Winter.
other one stuck out. Like I only bought like Marvel Comics Presents because of Sam Keith's art, you
Oh
know, things
yeah,
like that. And I dug Sal Buscema. His Spider-Man was beautiful. As well as like, you know, McFarlane and Larson on Spider-Man following later on. Uh, guys just really stuck out. We're just doing it different than, you know, the kind of stuff you would see like mass produced as like this is an example of what comics is.
right. Well, that's yeah. I think my favorite comic book artist when it comes down to it is Bernie Wrightson
Oh, that's a good one.
because his detail and everything is just absolutely bonkers. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to find this, and this is going to drive me because I'm trying to search Marvel Winter comic book, and it's all coming up Winter Soldier.
Uh,
Big, yeah, there. Oh, there it is. Oh, I just found it. What's this
oh,
dude's name? And he's still creating art, and he's still amazing. Arthur Adams.
oh, yeah,
Art,
Adams, man. Yeah, there's another dude who can rip. And he's one of those who just gets better and better too.
yeah.
I mean,
But he is one of those like those books, and he did some with like the Hulk, where it's like,
mhm.
man, if you were to look up comic book art in the dictionary, I feel like it's so perfect. It's so interesting and detailed. I don't know what it is about his artwork.
Yeah, he's at another level, man.
Yeah. Okay, so when you were in middle school or high school, did you start were there art classes you could take to kind of
Yeah,
get refined or better?
I took like art one, then art two, my like freshman and sophomore years, and then my junior and senior years of high school, I did like an AP
Hmm.
uh drawing, and it was first year was really challenging because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and and I didn't have really think through because you had to pick kind of a I don't know if it was a genre or just something because you had to write a paper at the end. You had to write an essay about
Oh,
like
hmm.
your process and all that, and it all for the college credit stuff. But senior year, I'd figured it out a little more. If I had to go back and do it again, I'd do it totally different. But you know, that's what age and experience teaches you. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
it was good. It was a lot of, you know, drawing still lifes and working in different mediums. So you kind of get to play with, you know, paints and then inks and quill pens and block making and all kinds of stuff like that. At least I was fortunate to have had, you know, a high school that could do a lot of different things and had different materials for us to work with.
okay, so when you getting towards the end of high school, did you know what you wanted to get into and go into
Oh,
college?
heck no, I didn't. I knew I was going to go. I went to a community college, uh, because it was cheaper than
Yeah.
going to like Birmingham Southern or UAB, uh, or going, further away and then having more expenses. But I went in just as for like to do your associates in art first, get that, and then keep going. And then like as I was about getting ready to transfer out of there because I'd done all my community college, credits that I could get there, uh, they came in with this animation program from Warner Brothers. They used to call it the Acme VTN, Virtual Training Network.
Huh.
And I think they still do it, and I think Disney's involved too now. And this was the time when Anastasia, I think, had just come out, and they were
Yeah.
working on the Iron Giant, and we got to do like these, like kind of like we're doing now with a Zoom, except it was like for a classroom, and it was like 1996, and we were talking with actual animators. We got to talk to Chuck Jones one day,
Oh shit.
which right, man, dude's
Yeah.
like Mark Twain. Was
Yeah.
man, he was Mark Twain.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool because we got all this pencil test equipment, we'd draw things out and we'd animate them, and we'd put them on videotape and we'd play them for the animators who actually worked at Warner Brothers, people who actually worked on Anastasia and the Iron Giant and whatever else they were working on back then. And they would critique us on it, give us tips and say, do this differently or do this and with your timing and your movement and all the good animation stuff. So at that point, once I got into college, it's like, this is it. Yeah, I like animation. I like storyboarding. Uh, and I wanted to get like into story art. And I thought that would be cool. And and then before I graduated, I got married. And,
Okay.
and so school kind of went to the wayside, and ended up working like for her dad for about a decade. And then so I was like kind of in between. I didn't really have any art stuff going on, especially once I started working in his restaurants. It was just like kind of on the side. And then what really kind of got me back into it was like when like 9/11 happened, and I was like, shit, the world's ending. I better do something with my life
Yeah. Yeah.
other than running restaurants, because that wasn't a passion. And so it was, I put ads in like the classifieds of like digital webbing and pencil jack, because they used to have, creators connecting creators type classifieds. And that's how I found Dan Taylor, or he found me. And we've been pumping out stuff here and there, ever since then, ever since November 2001, when I first started drawing anything for comics.
So I can't remember if we discussed this on the previous podcast. Did you go up to Chicago Comic Con any of the times?
I went up there once.
This 0304.
It was around then, probably.
So
I
there's
was
a
up there
chance
for like
we met back
it's very possible. How crazy. Yeah.
because I don't know if I talked about this on the other one, but I met Dan through Steve Niles's message board.
Right.
I had bought 30 Days of Night, and my buddy Greg White, and I got on Steve Niles, and Ben Templesmith had just also split on there, or just had a sub one. And that's how I met all
Right.
these people. And we went to Comic Con in either 03 or 04 in Chicago. And I remember meeting Dan and him having then Superhero Happy Hour. It hadn't changed to
Mhm.
Hero Happy Hour yet. And yeah, that's the first time I met him. He was very quiet. I remember that.
Yeah.
But
Dan's a cool guy, but he can be
yeah.
reserved at first, I guess. But I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, you met Dan through the websites,
Yeah.
Unmatching Creators and Artists.
And like you're talking about the message boards, Dan encouraged me or told me about like the Bendis boards
Yeah.
and Niles boards and stuff like that. And the Bendis boards was more, I guess, my speed because that's where I hung out the most. And the View Askew boards when they had
Oh
those.
God. Oh God.
Uh,
Yeah. Yes.
that was a wild west of the
I
internet there.
I'm the biggest Kevin Smith fan in the world. I never got on those message boards because I think I tried once and I was like, nope,
It
nope.
was overwhelming because there were so many people. Posts were constant,
Hmm.
so it was hard. But I'd go in there, I'd take a shot with a one-liner or something, and then a piece out.
Oh my God. Oh my
like
God.
Red-
Sorry, say that again.
it's like Reddit is now.
Oh God. All right. Yeah, the message boards days. Oh God. Oh God. I can hear dial up.
We were
Uh,
young and so full of hope.
yeah. Okay. So you started doing that with him. Did you go back to school or anything, taking more class, or you just started doing it? You just started doing it?
I did take well, this one goes back to when I was about 16. I did take some like comics classes. There was
Hmm.
an illustrator around here named John Knowles who had a school, and it was just called the Studio, and it was for comic artists and stuff. And I was only it only lasted about maybe 8, 10 months from when I started because it had been going probably for years before that. That they ended up closing up shop. I think they were going to move and stuff, but they just never reopened as far as I was aware. But yeah, I took some comic classes back then too, and that was pretty cool. And I still know some of those people.
Okay. And you
But
mentioned graphic design. So did your degree end up being in design?
oh, I never got a degree
Oh, okay.
because because I got so stuck in this comics. I mean, this animation stuff,
Yeah.
and I was taking all these animation classes and just kind of pissing about, not really taking the other classes like for about a year and a half before I stopped going. And it was just like, well, I'm not going to get a degree in animation because there wasn't a plan for it. There wasn't a degree plan.
Yeah.
And I probably got the credits for something, but it hasn't been important because, I felt like I was secure having these restaurant jobs
Yeah.
when I was doing that. And that if I want to do art stuff, they really want to see a portfolio more than they want to see a degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of thought, maybe I don't need to go back. And I just never did. And at this point, I'm so far gone. I got to go back.
I am 46 and I am at that same point of I would like to teach, but to teach you have to damn near have a PhD. And I was like, I've been doing this since I
Right.
was 13 years old, man. It's like there ain't
Mhm.
anything you're going to teach me just so I can go into debt for $200,000, probably more now.
Ridiculous, right?
Yeah, $200,000 just so I can have 3 sheets of paper, bachelor's, master's, PhD. It's like, no, no, I'll start my
Ridiculous.
own damn school.
It's
I don't
it's
need.
a just to go on a crazy off tangent, the education system in this country is just crazy,
It's broken.
and the expectations uh by employers is just
Yeah,
is wild for penance, you
yeah,
know, $15 an hour, but they want you to have a master's. I saw something some software developer applied for a job where they had to use like a software he actually created and said that they needed 3 years experience on it. It's like this software is only a year old, man, and I
of
made
course,
it.
of course it is. Of course it is. You look at those descriptors and it's like you must be fluent in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, PHP, CSS. You must know video editing. It's like, what the? Can I just?
It's like, yeah, it's like it's for a graphic designer, they don't want just a graphic designer, they want a web developer too.
Yeah,
Uh, because like I don't know all this HTML and stuff. I mean, I know a little bit, thank you, MySpace,
yeah.
but that's it.
Uh, well, and I laugh at. Let's see. There's no kind way to put this. The major university here, what
Mhm.
they pay a graphic design employee is the same amount that they paid in like 1996. It's
I,
still,
I
the
couldn't.
salary band is still $30,000 to $35,000 in
I would,
2024. It's still
yeah,
$30,000 to $35,000, and you've got to have, I think, damn near a master's to get a job there and as a designer.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I've applied for hundreds of jobs over the past year, and they all want bachelor's degrees, but I put it anyway because I've got 15 years experience since 2008 when I started working as a graphic designer. And I got that gig because of a dude who was in my animation class in college.
yeah.
He was already working there, and he was able to bring me on and give me an interview, and aced it, and I worked there for a decade.
Man, I will tell you something off mic. There is something I do not
Okay.
want an audio recorded version. I'm putting it at the bottom of my notes and making the type really big so I don't forget to tell you about this at the end. Sorry,
Right on.
listener. Sorry, dear listener. uh,
One of you.
oh, right. So here's the funny thing. I'm going to brag on my listeners. I have a very small following on Facebook or Instagram. Somebody's knocking on my door. I assume it is UPS. Uh, I have a very small following on Facebook or Instagram, but I am about to hit 100,000 downloads, which kind of
Nice.
blows my mind. So I used to do that joke of like all three of you who are listening, and now I'm like,
We've always done that, like with Hero Happy Hour. We're like, thanks to our moms or whatever.
and I'm not corrected. I just think it's fun. I can't wrap my hand around it that many people have listened to my dumb ass on this thing.
Yeah.
That's the bigger part.
Yeah, I've got like 500 or so, I think, followers on Instagram, and that's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what a good number would be, but it's
It's,
like, hey, that's a lot more than, I would have thought when I was, a kid. I thought that was a thing, putting things online because the internet was in its infancy back then.
I will say, as someone who does social media and digital marketing for 95% of my life, uh,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter the number as long as you have engagement. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
yeah.
It's
I
funny
mean,
seeing these people with 20,000 followers that barely get like 60 likes per post. I'm like, that's all bots, man. That ain't real.
I, I don't even get that. I might get 15.
No. I will say on Instagram is going through struggles right now, and the algorithm is sucking, and everybody's engagement is way down. Facebook is damn near pointless at this point in time.
It,
Oh my God.
it's because there's so many bots and so much like
Yeah,
AI content
yeah,
that I don't mean just like AI art, but like AI bots. People are just I don't even know. I don't understand the reasoning behind it.
yeah,
Uh, I guess to drive up clicks or what have you, but it's just
yeah. It's nuts.
uh,
Okay.
yeah.
So we'll go into more positive. So uh
Sure.
you seem to use digital a lot more than by hand. Uh
Yeah, I started off drawing with Sharpies on Georgia Pacific cardstock I got from Walmart. And
love
that
it.
was how like, the first few issues of Hero Happy Hour were drawn. And then while I was working in advertising, they got the art department, which was only like six of us, Cintiqs. And I was like,
Oh
well,
yeah.
this is cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to draw this. And so I started playing around with that. And now I draw almost everything exclusively on an iPad because I can sit all scrunched up in a chair and just knock stuff out.
What apps do you use to draw in?
Procreate pretty much
Procreate.
exclusively.
Okay.
It's just figured out how to use it so well. Sometimes if I need to make panels a certain way, I might use like Metabank Paint because it's
Okay.
free, and
Okay.
it's got a really cool paneling tool set. So I'll use that. But lately I've just been hand drawing my panels
Okay. Well,
because
I'll
it's got
give
that
you
time feature anyway.
I'll give you a nickel's worth of free advice. I run an illustrators group here in town, and I've told them before, I was like, it sucks that now you have to be a content creator. But
Yeah.
because you're using Procreate, you can record your drawing And I've said,
Hmm.
just take that video file that's sped up and post it and do, here's what it took, and then here's what the final product looks like.
Yeah, I need to do that more. I turned that off just because it was kind of, I need to upgrade because it's getting old and getting
Yeah.
slow. So I turned that feature off, but
Oh, I
I
didn't
would
even
like to
think,
record.
yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
think about that it would slow down your process. But
Yeah.
yeah, because I've told them, I was like, man, it's stupid that you can't now just post pieces. You got to post a lot more. And Instagram and Facebook and all of them like the video content so much more. Uh,
Yeah. That's something I know that some certain creators like I'm buddies with DJ Kaufman, and he's
yeah.
like, you got to post the videos and you got to do this, and I'm just like, man, that's just too much for me. I don't want to do that. I just want to draw some stuff, post, let people go, that sucks, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. The last guy I had on, Mike Jones, he talked about like from the design world, the dribble community. Do you
Mhm.
remember dribble?
I do remember Dribble.
And I was like, oh yeah, people built entire like communities off of dribble. And I can't tell you the last person that I've seen post a dribble,
Uh,
like how weird that is now.
yeah, I haven't seen it. Well, but I get the idea of the whole content creation thing because it's just a very consumer culture on social media because it's
Yeah.
just something people to scroll through.
Yeah. Well,
And
and I was going to say the weirdest thing is kids under the age of like 25, they don't even look at the feed on Instagram. They just look at stories. That's all they
Mhm.
look at. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I hardly use stories. I use them every now and then when I'm promoting something,
Yeah.
but it's just an aspect of social media I've never really glommed onto because my interest isn't in doing that.
Yeah.
But I guess I just won't be successful.
Oh, if it, I was going to say, I wonder if I can pull one up. It may have been too long. Mine are me playing records to where I
Right.
literally bought a stand for my phone and I got a stand for my records. And I love doing it. Like and I'll just play, it'll be like a minute of one of the albums going. And,
That's cool.
and part of me, this is going to get very sad for a moment, but I'm going to jump off of that. Part of me is like, does anybody give a shit about this? Does anybody say anything? And then my mom said, honey, I love that you play your records. I love when those pop up. And I've been fussing at your dad because I want to get our records because my mom and dad had tons of
Yeah.
records. And said, because I want to play my records now. And she passed last August. So it's like,
Mm.
oh, I'm never going to stop doing that. That's all. I'm always going to do that now. I don't give a shit if anybody likes it. She
Yeah.
liked it.
I
That's all that
yeah,
matters.
I get that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see okay, apps. Okay, we talked about that, but since we're talking about internet, oh my God, this is the worst transition ever. You have launched a Kickstarter for this project
Yes.
called What I Did Yesterday. Wow, look at that. That is some Johnny Carson level shoehorning of a transition. So where did what is the law? Do you have like a elevator pitch for what the
Not
project is?
not really. I mean, it's just I haven't ever done anything autobiographical. I'm sorry, my phones are going crazy.
Oh, yes.
But I haven't done anything, autobiographical or even non-fictional like ever. And I don't know. I've had a rough couple of years, and I felt I needed to do something. I kind of let 2022 and 2023 beat the hell out of me, and I wanted to get better,
Okay.
And so I was like, well, even if it's not super interesting, uh, I felt I would enjoy it, and it would be therapeutic for me to kind of work through. Sorry, I'm getting emotional.
No, go for it, man.
uh, just some struggles in my life.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been rough. And
Yeah.
so, woo. But it was just kind of a way to kind of process, things, and at the same time, challenge myself artistically to, because I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm not gonna put any dialogue in it. I mean, there's a couple
Okay.
little snippets of like I think sound effects or whatever, but it's mostly wordless.
Yeah.
And I wanted to challenge myself to, as a cartoonist, be better at telling stories, even if it's just a short little 4 panel story of what I did yesterday. And I didn't really I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just
Yeah.
was working on it for me, and then they were coming so fast because I started drawing it December 17th last year, and I drew 70 pages in like a month. And for anybody who needs a cartoonist, that's fast. Uh
Quick plug, quick plug.
and so yeah, and I mean it's not all sad stuff, although there's some dark stuff in there. But it's just kind of I don't like I said, I don't have an elevator pitch, it's
Okay.
just kind of
No.
me going through the motions of trying to heal a little bit.
So in looking through it, it seems like about, what are you saying, like 95% are the 4 panels. Every once in a while there'll be like a one big one.
Yeah,
Uh
I've got like 70 pages, and like seven of them or eight of them are single panels.
okay. So
Most of
was
them are,
like the 4 panel, was that a conscious, like, here are my bumpers. Here is, it's got to match this format. What was the
yeah,
thought process there?
and back to like loving books. I love square books for whatever reason.
Oh
I
yeah.
just think a square book is just beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted, and I figured like if I ever did try to compile this into a book, I want to make it a square book. So yeah, those were my parameters. I didn't really uh think it through like most things, I guess.
Well,
And
there was one that really stuck out to me, that it was, God, I don't, this does not mean slander, but I understood, like, it resonated, which was there were 4 panels, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 was repeated in 4.
hmm
And I can't remember what it was, but that stuck with me, of like, oh shit, yeah, I understand that. Of like that,
yeah.
there is no progress. Sometimes there's no
Yeah, I think
progress.
I know what you're talking about. It's like it's just like passage of time,
Yeah.
and you're trying to I don't really know the words I want to use, but
Well, they're wordless, man. No, I'm just kidding.
I
Sorry.
want people like it's like I feel like, well, if I understand what it means, of course I
Yeah.
understand. Maybe somebody else will understand,
Yeah.
and they'll go, "Oh, I know that feeling, man."
Yeah.
And so I hope it's relatable. It's definitely pretty honest, except for a couple that I had some fun with.
Yeah.
But
Uh, okay. You can not answer this if you don't want to. Are there ones that you drew that you thought were too dark or too uh rough that you did not include?
uh, no, not any that I actually drew.
Okay.
But uh, the what's in there is about as far as I let myself go
Okay.
on a
Okay.
particular day.
Yeah.
And so it never got any worse than that. So I never really drew worse than that. But
Okay.
I was, and I still am, getting my head a lot. And I mean, I sent you the full book, I think.
Yeah.
So you've seen some of those.
Yeah.
There's one, I am literally inside my head, and it's just
Yeah.
that's
That
what it was.
I remember that one, where it was like I think it was like a profile, and you
Oh,
like scrunched up, like sitting in your head, like you're on the floor. So
right.
in going through it and doing it, has it helped with your mental health?
Uh, I would say it has. I would go to bed every night, hoping I didn't wake up. I don't
Yeah,
do that anymore.
that's good.
I don't, so
Yeah, I understand. During the pandemic, it was very, very dark, very, very bleak. And there were a lot of times where I sat in this chair and looked at that computer and thought some very rough stuff. And I'm gonna, I'll say this, I'm making a joke out of this, but I was on my friend Diane's podcast and she does it live on YouTube, and there were, let's say, 10 people listening, and everyone was crying except for me. And I'm sitting there talking about the heavy stuff, and Diane's sitting there just like, oh. I was
See,
like,
I can't say the heavy stuff out loud. You see
yeah,
me over here.
yeah.
Nobody else
Oh
can see
no. But
you. But
I think a lot of people did go, still are going through rough shit, and getting it out there is amazing. It's very brave to get it out there, so that somebody else it can help somebody else, or if nothing else, it helps you. That's the most
yeah,
important
it
part.
definitely helped me. And if someone finds it relatable, then that's awesome,
Yeah,
because it lets people know, look, we're all in this, we're all
yeah,
suffering in one
yeah,
way or another. And maybe we should help each other out a little more,
yeah.
or not be assholes to each other, not throw bombs at each other so much.
Dude, I I am almost aggressive and angry. Get angry at people about like, hey, you're gonna be okay. Like almost like shaking people. Like, come on, motherfucker.
Ready for a good time.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, we're gonna go out. We're gonna have. It's like I didn't get any of that. I'm scared at this point. It's like just turn into Charlie Brown's teacher. Just
Pretty
me
good.
yelling. Yeah. Uh, okay, so it came together. You're already, I think right now, last time I looked, you were getting close to halfway.
Yeah, I was a little over halfway this morning. I think it was
Okay.
like I set a very modest goal of only 2,000,
Yeah.
and I think it was like at $1,052, I think.
Sweet. Good. Okay.
So I think I can make it. I hope.
Well, I'm hoping the rambling man bump will come through and we'll get you over the edge. Excuse me. And I'm gonna have to talk to you later about publishing, because I've got people asking me about doing a magazine. I'm fascinated to hear your experience now with online publishing.
Sure.
That,
Yeah.
that
Whenever you want to do this again, or I mean, we can get into it a little bit now if you wanted to, but
like
I mean,
how do you source, like my thought, because I'm old school printing, I'm like, man, that's got to cost a fortune shipping. But I think Jason Copland was telling me about companies that actually just do straight drop shipping. Like is that
yeah,
what you're using?
I haven't set that up yet. I'm figuring, just because I'm not expecting like to have to print 10,000 copies or nothing,
Hmm.
that I'll just do them by hand myself. If I send out
Oh,
like, 50 or 100 copies, I can handle that, no problem.
that's awesome.
And, hopefully print out enough more that I can do some signings and stuff. A couple of places around here I'd like to do signings. I'd like to go up to North Carolina. I've got some friends up there with a comic shop, and Acme, give them a plug in Greensboro. They're awesome. Good people there.
I was gonna
So
say, if you're Greensboro. Now I'm trying to remember where Greensboro is. North Carolina, I get lost.
yeah, it's gotten lost driving up there. So
Because it's always one of those weird things of like, I know where Asheville is because I go there a lot. I forever I thought Charlotte was on the coast. I didn't realize it was in the middle.
right, I've done the same thing.
Yeah. And I like, and it's so funny, like from Knoxville, like Raleigh, Durham, it's still like
Mhm.
6 hours. I'm like, how is it further than Atlanta? It's just over in North Carolina.
I
Like,
think Greensboro is near Durham.
oh, okay. Well, if you end up having to come up through Knoxville, let me know, because I'm sure I can hook you up with some comic book shops here too.
If I can print up enough books, I'll be willing to go,
Yeah.
within a reasonable distance that I can drive.
Yeah. Cool. All right. We'll go through. I've got some bigger picture questions for you here
Sure.
at the end.
All right.
Uh, is there anything you would like to see more of in like art or creativity or comic books?
Oh gosh, just more of it,
Okay.
of it, and more real stuff, because like we touched on for a second back about AI art being everywhere, and like I'm in these Facebook groups for to connect with other creators and try to find work and things like that. And there's so many people who just they'll post up AI art or they'll ask for AI artists.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why, man?
Yeah.
Guess the real shit, man.
Yeah.
I got the good stuff. I feel like, man.
This is so
I'll do a test page for you. First test is free.
first test is free. What kills me about that stuff, this is the argument that I keep harping on. We don't need to see Bart Simpson as drawn by Basquiat because of
Right.
AI. You know what we need to do? We need, although I'm pointing to my own damn head, so this is going to be, here, I'll point to my beard. You know what we need to do? Somebody be able to take this photo and be able to clip hair out. Well, that's what AI can do. AI can help with like clipping hair, in Photoshop. I mean,
And when I worked in advertising, we had State Farm as a client. And so it was a lot of doing what they called like yearbook photos
oh yeah,
because that's what they had like on their badges, what they
yeah,
put on billboards. And so we had to touch up hundreds of photos like a week.
yeah,
It's like AI handy for that because they'd like pop in this nice background, drop out the palm trees or whatever the hell they're on
yeah,
vacation,
yeah,
these weird photos,
yeah,
clean it up so it's like a professional business photo.
yeah.
Thank you.
If yeah, AI do that. If you want to see what Bart Simpson looks like as drawn by Van Gogh, hire an artist to do that. Like, don't do that
Yeah,
shit with
find
AI.
a nice oil painter who emulates an artist you like or whatever. Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that for sure.
drives me nuts. Anyway, God, I'm get off my soapbox. Is there anyone in particular you like to work with? Of course, other than Dan. I mean, of
I mean,
course.
Dan Taylor and Taylor Mosby are like my go-to bros. Uh, I haven't worked with I've worked with a few other people. Uh, did some stuff last year. A guy named John Ash, who's a real cool dude. And I did a few little 5-pagers, uh, I guess for pitching purposes. And I've had no bad experiences with really anyone other than I had one guy who wanted to do this series and then was never intended to pay me, so
Oh
that didn't
God,
last long.
jeez. But do you have any writers or people that you would like, oh God, if I could ever work with that person, that would be amazing.
I don't know. At this point, I'm almost like, I know I'm going to continue doing stuff with Mosby because we've got some things planned. And if Dan wants me to draw some more comics, I'd love to work with him again. I think his Catacombs and Comedians thing is just too much fun for him right now, and he's really digging that. And I'm so happy for, he's doing this fun shit he loves. And but I kind of just want to do some of my own stuff, cause like Dan and I conceived of a concept called Wild Waste back in like 2010,
Okay.
and I drew some promo stuff for it back a little bit later on, like a couple 3 years later, and it just never materialized. I've somewhere in my email there's a script that he wrote that I would love to find, but but he's just said, if you want to do it, just do it. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to write and draw that whenever I get to it. I've got an Instagram / Wild Waste, which has about 22 pages
Sure.
on
Okay.
there. I'd like to kind of redo and reformat those. I think I may do it for a more of a digest size book.
Okay.
And I figure that's going to be a good 300 pager by the time I get all the
100.
ideas out of it. So
Yeah.
that,
Oh my
that's going to
God.
be fun. Never get to it.
Uh, so when it comes to stuff like that, do you ever set goals or checklists? Like, okay, I want to get at least hit started on that by the end of the year or anything.
Not as well as I should. Like when I'm actually working on something, I definitely have goals about, I want to get X amount of pages done a week and things like that. But starting projects, it's always like I'll get to it when I get to it, and that's a terrible way to do things
Yeah. Yeah.
because sometimes it just doesn't get done. But I'm getting I'm more focused now than I think I have been, which has been a nice thing out of doing what I did yesterday because I was doing about 2 or 3 pages a day, And I was like, okay, I can work at this clip and still have plenty of time to play my kids. And I was just really enjoying the process of drawing, and especially inking. Inking is like the most fun to me. If I could get like an inking gig, that'd be awesome, you know.
Okay.
But I'm working on like a do-over of a kid's book I did back in 2012 called Elk Bar that I did with Mosby. And I've gotten 30 pages of it penciled and inked. I haven't colored anything yet. It's going to be in color. Uh, but I've got two stories of that I'm going to do. And then I plan on getting into Wild Waste after Elk Bar Volume 2 is done. So I'm just going to draw until I'm done with a project. And then the next day I'll start on the next project right now. And that's kind of my
Okay.
mentality right now.
Okay. If you ever need to hop on Zoom and have someone yell at you to keep moving forward, that's me.
I could use some cheerleader.
Somewhat very aggressive. Do you know what you'd like to do in the
You need to say,
sorry.
why don't you take Sunday off? You need to get back to work, man. You took Sunday off.
Hey,
You ain't no chick.
you don't even request to be in the Zoom with me. I'll just pop up like, hey,
Just pop up. It's like
I
a
see
pop
you.
on my phone. I'm like, oh,
You see just my finger. Hey, I see you.
hey.
Do you know what you'd like to do in the next 10 years? Is there like bigger things you think down the line?
I don't know. I mean, I'm once I start catching more film and TV gigs, because that's what I do for money now.
Yeah.
Mostly, the past couple of years really has been well, not last year, especially because of all the strikes.
Yeah.
Which was another thing that really kind of brought me down a lot
Yeah.
because during that time, I lost my apartment, had to sell a bunch of my stuff. I was just like just trying to survive, and now I'm living
Yeah.
with my dad,
Yeah.
which is just great because I get to spend time with my dad. But at the same time, I'm so used to being more independent,
Yeah.
and that's a little difficult. But the next 10 years, I definitely want to have what I want to do this year. I want it to be out, and I think it would be great to try to uh it'd be cool to get some of that stuff adapted. That'd be neat to see, it in other formats. If anybody, be willing to do that. I don't know, but just keep working and keep coming up with ideas and keep making books and retire poor.
Oh, I'm gonna die working. I already know that. Good Lord.
I'm gonna die with an iPad or whatever we have, the next however many years in my hand. My,
It'll be that VR headset.
uh,
It'll be that VR headset. That's what it'll
It'll be
be.
like Lawnmower Man, where your arms and legs are all tied into the big thing. That's what I want. That's how I want to die.
Oh my
Draw
God.
in a
Oh,
giant ring.
oh God. Uh, before we get to the last question, you mentioned the film and TV. So do you do storyboard? What do you do in film and TV?
Mostly just graphic design and illustration, like anything you see, any type of signage or banners or
Oh,
posters
okay.
you see, like in the background, if they're filming on location, they can't use the stuff that's there. They've got to uh, have it remade, and that's kind of what I do. But I've done some cool hero stuff that's shown up in Atlanta, which was really cool. And then Slumber Party was the last thing I worked on for Disney,
Okay.
and which you Disney Plus, which if you see anything printed in there, I did it
That's a,
almost.
you worked on Atlanta with Glover.
Yeah,
That's
last two
amazing.
seasons.
That
Yeah,
first season may be one of the best things I've ever seen in the history of television. That first season is just immaculate. And
yeah. I mean, it's all really good. I mean, I wouldn't say quality went down at all in any way. It just got different because they wanted to do different things.
yeah,
Uh,
I think it was, I felt like season one was one big story. And then season two, all the guys went in their own way. Season three, I didn't like the Europe stuff. It lost me a little bit, But
Yeah.
the last season was amazing.
I
Absolutely
loved all
amazing.
the season three like anthology pieces that were just, the self-contained episodes. I
Yeah.
thought everyone were wonderful. And they did the same thing in season four as well. Like the Goofy episode, probably one of my favorite episodes. And I have a
Yeah.
lot of stuff in that one. It's
Yeah.
like I got to draw Goofy a lot,
That's amazing. Wait, do we
So,
need to do air quotes or oh no, that's right. It really was goofy. That's right. It
yeah,
was.
I mean, it was FX, which is owned by Disney. So
Yeah. That's amazing. That's awesome. Now I gotta go back and rewatch that episode. Okay.
especially that episode, that's one of the best ones.
Oh God. It is so good. Yeah. Yeah. That one and the weird Tyler Perry episode. That one was unnerving, is what that one was. Oh my
Mhm.
God.
And the one with
Uh
all the commercials and the trailers, that one was a real cool one. I wish I knew the names of these episodes.
yeah. Oh, they have the worst. God love them. They have the worst names because they're like, you did it. I was like, what does that have to do? Okay, man. Okay. All right. Sorry for slandering season three. See, I think it's just season one and season two were such high bars that
They
I
were,
don't know. I don't know. Uh, but I tell you what, man, that artwork that I saw in the background season three looked perfect. Sorry. uh, do you think even with all these, do you think you're going to keep doing the what I did yesterday? Do you think you'll?
if something, if I feel like drawing,
Yeah.
something like I think up an idea, I'll put it down on my little notepad, on my phone. Like I've got one that I started to work on, but I kind of need to rethink it.
Okay.
Uh, but it's more generic comic strip than what I did yesterday, which features me. This one just features my cat. So,
Okay. Uh, and then this is a heavy question, but if you could talk to the 14-year-old version of yourself, what would you tell him?
dude, that's if I could go back and do it over again, that's what I would do. I'd be 14 and I'd go through high school and do it again. Uh, but I'd be like, uh, you know, focus on the things that you want to do and more so than what other people expect of you. Cause that was always a big thing, like especially like I mean, my mom had real high expectations or whatever of or ideals of how you're supposed to live your life, and don't necessarily agree with all those
Yeah.
expectations. I think life is more something that you get this shot to kind of live in this crazy world we live in because it's gotten weird, and
Yeah.
the best of it and enjoy what you do and don't work for the man. you know uh
That needs to be on a t-shirt. Don't work for the man.
if I was able to tell my 14-year-old self like to like some of the classes I took in high school, I'd probably tell them to take a different outlook of how I approach things. uh I kind of for a long time I just sort of assumed things were going to work out when you're
Yeah.
young, realistic, and they don't always work out, and you got to put a little more effort in sometimes, and you got to be more present, and you got to not say you got to so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming back on. I'll say this on the top of the show. I'll put the links in the thing, but go on to Kickstarter and look up what I did yesterday. Or just
Right
look
on.
on your handles are Fason Art, FASONART
Right.
on all the social media. Don't normally do a plug.
I'm only on Facebook and Instagram, really,
Okay.
so I'm easy to find.
Yeah. You mean you're
Gotta,
not on TikTok doing the dances?
I have a
That's where you're messing up, man. Come on.
I have a TikTok account that is face and art, but has nothing on it. And I was just using it to watch conspiracy theory videos
Oh,
because it's fun.
perfect. 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 That's
It's like, tell me
exactly.
more about North Korea.
Yeah. 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 Why don't we hear about the Bermuda Triangle anymore? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Let me.
What's the Mandela effect? That's a what universe are you from?
Oh my God.
Did your Fruit of the Loom have the cornucopia? Mine did.
Thank you for being on. Oh my God.
Thank you, Jody, man. I really had fun.